game because the Dolphins have been as anemic as any team in the league.
How do you bet this game on Sunday morning? Like, honestly, the Dolphins and the Jaguars both making the long trip across the pond. Both absolutely suck. By the way, I know we were talking over him. He said that he wants to average 250 rushing yards and 250 passing yards a game. That's 500 yards of total offense. The league leader right now is Dallas. I think like 475. Like, Urban's got to slow down. Like, seriously, dude. You can't. He wants to go from the worst offense in the league to the best overnight. My dude, he needs. I
thought he was going to quit.
Urban Meyer.
I thought he was either going to get fired or quit. So he's lucky he has a job.
A couple more losses. He might. A couple more losses and he might quit. We have a game coming up on Thursday night. That's right. We turn around fast here.
Testing on Western Reserve Radio. 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1-1-2-3-4-5.
Carolina. Let's start by hearing from Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans. And who else would he be talking about, Scotty? Tom Terrific. After the 400 yards and 5 more touchdowns he dropped on the Dolphins on Sunday. Here's Mike Evans.
I think it was Antonio after the game yesterday said, Tom never ceases to amaze me. I know it's kind of cliche now, but 5 touchdowns, 400 yards in the same game. Does he ever cease to amaze you?
I mean, all the time. He always, what he does is crazy, especially at his age and the level of play that he's been able to sustain for such a long time. It's unreal, and I don't think we'll ever see it again.
I've never seen toenails like his. When we were in the elevator in L.A. at that fancy hotel, and my boy was rocking the flip-flops. Now, I'm rocking the flip-flops right now, and I'm telling you, I go get petties whether you like it or not. I give an extra 20 spot to the chick to rub my calves and feet for 30 minutes. I don't care about the stupid petty, cutting the nails, whatever. I go to get like big old scrapings of my, I just got massive everything, chunks of calluses, bunions, bone spurs. I go to get all that just tore off of there with a saw, and then I have the chick rub me down for a half an hour for a 20 spot. But that guy had toenails like fingers. They looked like claws coming out. He was like a dinosaur, your boy Mike Evans. I've never seen anything like it. You and I were talking about it. We've been talking about it for years since we saw him. And they were yellow like an old man. Like when you're dying and you got like old man yellow toes.
I still cannot believe that we saw that in the Intercontinental out in Los Angeles that time. Amazing stuff. The Bucs linebacker Levante David, week to week, low ankle sprain. Other side of things, Nick Sirianni, the Eagles head coach, wants to keep it simple against the Bucs on a short week.
It's to make sure you're keeping things simple and not getting too complicated, because you're not going to have the reps of live reps of doing the things that you're going to do in games. So keep things simple, keep it things that the guys can learn and execute, that you've been executing all year, and but then again also be able to attack them enough where you're going after the style of defense they are. So I mean, there's always a happy medium in that, but definitely just be able to do things that we can execute, knowing that we don't have a lot of time to get ready for this game.
So Carver High, they got it done right on Sunday, and so they won the game finally for him. I didn't even think they looked bad when I saw him play the Chiefs. I mean, they racked it up. Hurts had a good game. He just got outplayed by Mahomes, and a lot of people get outplayed by Mahomes. He puts up big numbers, and they still lose. I couldn't believe what they did, the Bills, to Kansas City in Arrowhead. When I woke up on Monday, I said to myself, that team right there, your team, the Bills, they are so dangerous, because if they just keep winning, they're going to have home field throughout and a title game in the Below, and that is an indicator for me that they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
From your lips to God's ears, yes, they were unbelievable on Sunday night. They completely beat the Chiefs all around Arrowhead. They've got a very manageable schedule coming up. Hopefully the Bills can do all the things that you just said that they could do. Bengals and the Packers on Sunday. Joe Burrow got the throat injury, Scott. You don't see that too often. He does expect to play against the Lions. He did get a good piece of advice from Aaron Rodgers He said that he told Burrow to slide. He's right about that. I'm glad Burrow came back in the game. I know you didn't see it live. You were at the other one. Nobody wanted to win it, Scotty. The missed field goals left and right between the Packers and the Bengals.
But what happened? How did he get his throat injured? Somebody cranked him when he was going down for a slide?
Yes.
He got, his Adam's apple cranked?
Yes, he got caught right in the jugular, and he did come back into the game, of course, got checked out at the hospital afterwards. Going to be good to go against the Lions. Clyde Edwards-Helaire placed on IR by the Chiefs. He's going to miss the next 3 weeks with that knee injury going on IR. Juju Smith-Schuster, you were at the game, done for the year. Shoulder surgery for Juju, very much a drag. Tua, of course, throwing again for the Dolphins. Not going to play this week, getting close with that rib injury. NFL is planning to play a game in Germany. Scotty, 2022. So London's not enough anymore. We've got to expand even further. Let's go even further into Europe and go play a game in Germany. What are we doing here? What are we trying to accomplish? It's bad enough they're playing in London.
I know what they're doing because I've been to Frankfurt, and if you go to Germany at the NFL games, they're going to have 75-ounce beers. They go from your hand all the way to the ground, and you just chug German beer all day long. Who cares about the football? Big, gigantic beers when you go to watch football there.
The Dave Smith Show.
Joey Chestnut, the greatest athlete this country has ever produced, was defeated not by one of his fellow male competitors. He was defeated by Miki Sudo, the women's world champion. She gave birth 50 days ago, comes back from that, and defeats Chestnut in the World Buffalo Wings Eating Contest. This would be like a woman who just gave birth, going to the NBA, making a roster, being the league MVP, and winning the championship. Why isn't this being covered?
The Dave Smith Show, weekends at 9 p.m. Eastern on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Just Saying It with Cole Thompson.
The NFL right now is moving into a youth movement at potentially the most important position in the league. You're turning the page into a new narrative for this next group and crop of quarterbacks. It's going to be very interesting to see where every single quarterback falls into this category, because it's very evident now that we are about to hit a new stride of franchise quarterbacks making the mark. When we saw Drew Brees take on Phillip Rivers, when we saw Eli take on Peyton, when we saw Aaron Rodgers take on TB12, it was always a spectacle. And we all loved it. Now it's time to figure out who is the next version of those quarterbacks. There's enough names in this year's draft class alone to make it interesting. Add in the last 4 draft classes, you're going to be able to find out who is who very fast. And that's going to be huge for the game of the NFL.
Just Saying It, weekday mornings from 5 to 7 Eastern.
Imagine learning about radio and being mentored by true radio professionals in real radio stations. Well, actually, you don't have to imagine, because there's Radio Connection. Radio Connection gives you the opportunity to learn one-on-one and be mentored by radio pros. Plus, you don't have to worry about getting into a crazy amount of debt with school tuition either. Radio Connection keeps their tuition at much lower costs. To find out more info, visit radioconnection.com.
Wake up call! Red Sox would fail time and time again and bring up the curse of the Bambino, and to Yankee fans would just giggle with glee. Right? You can't even think about your own failure against Cincinnati or the Mets or anyone else without thinking of us. You didn't lose the World Series to the Mets because the Mets rallied. You lost because of the curse of the Bambino. You didn't lose the 7th game of the 75 World Series after Carlton Fisk hit the home run in Game 6. You didn't lose because the Reds were just a little bit better. No. You lost because you traded your best player to us, and you got a curse because of it. Imagine how much that would affect a fan base if their rivals said, every time you failed, you know why, don't you? That's how deep this rivalry really is.
Wake Up Call with Tony V and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10 Eastern.
Coast to Coast continues now on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Scott Farrell.
All right, Carver High, you saw it. I didn't. I was out at a restaurant going hard with a bunch of heavy gamblers, and you saw Fury, Wilder 3, the trilogy. I was like, thank God it's finally over. But you're telling me that it was the best fight of the three? We went to all of them except for this one. Leading up to this one, we went to the first two. What did you think of it?
I thought it was an outstanding fight. And I was very skeptical. We all were. We were like, why are these guys fighting again? This is going to be awful. This is going to be terrible. It was the best fight out of the three. These two guys, Scotty, they hit each other with bombs in the first 4 or 5 rounds. I mean, Wilder knocked Fury down twice in the fourth. Fury knocked him down a bunch of times. I don't know how Wilder lasted as long as he did. But I give Wilder credit. You know, he was so awful in that second fight, Scotty, that I think he got a lot of his respect back. Take it what it is. I mean, I think he did get it back the way that he performed against Fury on Saturday night, but he still didn't have enough to beat him. But I think now people feel better about him than that miserable performance he had in fight number 2.
Well, I mean, this is the second time that he's had him on the ropes. In the 9th and 12th, he knocked him down in the first fight. The one in the 12th, I thought, obliterated him. I didn't think he was going to get up from that one. Somehow God peeled him off the canvas. He got up and threw hands, actually, and earned the draw. Wilder had no business winning that fight because Fury dominated the fight. Second fight, he dominated that one. Then he does him again, knocks him down twice again, and can't finish the deal. That guy knocks out everybody he fights except for Fury. Everyone else, he's, bronze bomber, this and that. Ortiz, he knocked out. It's everyone he knocks out, but he can't beat the big fella.
No, he just can't.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct?
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio. WRDB, The Scourge.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on Western Reserve Radio. In Los Angeles, a shootout between the Chargers and the Browns. Cleveland came up short 47-42 the final. The teams combined for 41 points in the fourth quarter. LA with a 26-15 advantage. 2 touchdown passes in the loss for Baker Mayfield.
3rd and 10 at the 18. Steelers are 6 of 9 on third downs. 4-man rush. Throws it for the end zone. Touchdown! Chase Claypool, a leaping grab, and Ben hit him perfectly. This is what we were expecting all year long.
The call on the Steelers radio network. A much-needed 27-19 win at home over the Broncos on Sunday. Ben Roethlisberger, 2 touchdown passes, 15 of 25 passing for 253 yards. Najee Harris rushed the ball 23 times for 122 yards and a touchdown. Download the free Score app. Lightning fast updates so you never miss a thing. That's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's the Sports Flash. Chuck Sanders, Western Reserve Radio.
O'Reilly Auto Parts specializes in keeping your car on the road. Not sure how much life is left in your battery? Our professional parts people will test it for free. If it does need to be replaced, we'll help you find just the right one to fit your car. Our Superstart batteries are built to handle even the toughest conditions. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
What has fluffy brioche buns, crunchy pickles, tasty mayo, a crispy fried chicken fillet, and the perfect amount of spice? Any guesses? Bingo! The Spicy Kentucky Fried Chicken Sandwich. Go on and get yourself a bite of the only spicy chicken sandwich that's finger-licking good. So, what are you waiting for? Order the Spicy KFC Sandwich on the KFC app today for just $3.99. At participating locations only. Prices may vary. Tax extra.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
To the radio play-by-play voice and our buddy back from here at Youngstown, it is the voice Fitz. Everett Fitzhugh, my friend, how are you?
Man, it feels good to hear your voice again, Mark. Everything's going well, and definitely excited to be back on the airwaves briefly for here in Youngstown.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com. Mill Creek Golf Course is the Valley's leader for golfing fun with a practice range, short game area, and hole 55 bar and grill all on site. Mill Creek Golf Course features a friendly PGA professional staff available for instruction, along with 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross. Don't forget family fun night golf on Fridays and Saturdays for just $25. For details and tee times, call 330-740-7112 or go online to millcreekmetroparks.org.
And good evening and welcome to another episode of By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio. Back after the week off last week, it is Season 2, Episode 34 of By All Means, brought to you by Mill Creek Golf Course. And you can also visit them at millcreekmetroparks.org for more information. You can find us on Facebook, Western Reserve Radio, on Twitter at WR_radio. You can also download the Live 365 or TuneIn app, or just head over to westernreserveradio.com as we await an appearance by our scheduled guest, Brian Tonar, Director of Golf from Mill Creek Metro Parks. We're just going to bring Mr. Craven in until he joins us. And it's been a couple weeks, sir. How are you?
Outstanding. It's a warm October. I can live with this.
But it's supposed to be, fall. I enjoy fall.
I don't want it to be fall. I don't care. It's cold. I don't like it. It's wet. All that mess. No, this is perfect.
Well, speaking of that, let us try and go to the phones. And hopefully we are joined by Mr. Tonar. Brian, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, it is good to hear your voice, man. It's been a little while. How are you doing?
Doing well. Enjoying the nice Indian summer we've got here at the late end of the fall season, and getting a lot of golf in and just finishing up our schedule for the 2021 season. Hard to believe we're at the tail end in the fourth quarter here.
Just because it is fall, there's still lots of rounds of golf to play and a lot of things going on at the Metro Parks.
Certainly is. We've got our family fun nights, so we'll continue through this month. We've got we just started our fall junior golf camp last weekend. We've got 2 more weeks set of that. Just finished up a U.S. Kids tournament here, the Tour Championship for the state of Ohio, and we've got our PGA Hope program, which is a new program here on next Tuesday, the 19th. We'll have about 24 of our veterans from the area and teaching them how to play golf and just basically giving them a thank you for all they do and all their support and our freedoms that we have.
So I know we're obviously experiencing a much warmer start to fall. Is there any way you and the golf course staff can kind of project maybe how long the course will be open, or you just enjoy it while it lasts?
Well, like anything, it's up to Mother Nature. She ultimately has the final call on anything that we do, but we're hopeful that it'll last up until about Thanksgiving, somewhere around in there. We usually like to stay open as long as we possibly can, as long as it's okay for the turf conditions and the quality of the grounds here. As long as we can establish good, safe environment for growth going forward, we will be open. Historically, we've always closed the South course mid to late October, kind of right around now. But since we had the addition of the cart pass on the South golf course, it's enabled us to expand our season a little bit longer. So we're thinking probably around the 15th of November. So we've gained at least another full month, if not more. And then the biggest challenge is keeping up with the leaves. I know our guys have been on that 24/7 from the moment they get in the door. They blow off the golf course, they go out and cut it, and then they continue to blow it off until they leave at 3:30. So it's a daunting task for them, but we're gonna stay open as long as we can. The par 3 course will be open through the end of this month. Historically, that always closed end of September. So we've expanded that season as well by a full month. So it's certainly great to have the opportunity to continue to play. And the way that the weather's gone the past couple years, we've really seen a shift from spring into the late fall, which I think is spectacular from a weather condition standpoint. And then you basically have some of the greatest vistas in the park with the leaves changing and autumn here at the Mill Creek Metro Park. So it's a great time for golf, I can tell you that.
And that's the thing I know. I mean, there was the pumpkin walk last weekend. And if you're not into playing golf, there's still a lot of different things you can do across the metro parks.
There is. The recreation department has a full slate of stuff. We've got salsa dancing. We've got polka dancing. We've got trolley tours that'll go through the end of this month. We have recreational hikes. We have the Metro Mutts, and then we have our pinnacle for the golf and recreation department, Christmas at the Mill. That weekend of Black Friday going into the holidays to really just kick off the month of December, and then that rolls into some winter activities here at the park with the sled riding and in December, January, February, depending upon what the snow conditions are. But it's an exciting time to be at the metro parks. I mean, just the change in the season, certainly makes for a unique opportunity to get out and explore the metro parks as a whole. Jumping on a trolley ride, going down to Lily Pond, going to Fellows like you said for the pumpkin walk. There's some spectacular things going on, and it's great to be a part of it.
And when you look at it, there's so many different things, and a lot of people may think, well, it starts to get cold. It's not the time to visit the park, but there's never a time not to visit the park.
No, I agree with you, and we've talked in the past. Like the moment that you pull into the metro parks, whether you're going to play around the golf, going to go see Lanterman's Mill, or go to Fellows Riverside Gardens, or any of the outlying areas of the park, you sort of decompress a little bit. It's a great opportunity to be able to relax, enjoy Mother Nature. Volney Rogers, when he started the metro parks, we're fortunate to be the first park system in the state of Ohio that was established. His vision and what it's allowed us to do and grow, through recreational opportunities or outdoor opportunities or horticulture, has been spectacular. We've got the Metro Parks Farm. We have disc golf now. It's something that came aboard a couple years ago. Archery, you name it, we've got just about everything covered. So it's a fun time to be able to come out and enjoy, the great weather. It's unseasonal that we have, weather like we've had today in this past week and past 2 weeks, where it's 75, 80 degrees in the extended forecast the next 10 days. Other than a couple raindrops here and there, it's, there's 8 or 9 days of sun. So The only thing that we're up against on this part of the year is daylight. It's unfortunate that it does start getting dark at 6:30, 7 o'clock, but people have been making the most of their time, whether it's hiking on the hike and bike trail or East Golf Trail over by the golf course. There's been a frenzy of activity, and it's great to see all the people.
And one of the things I saw in the news recently, too, is the Metro Parks is expanding with some newly acquired property.
Yes, it's going to allow us to expand into an additional piece of Mahoning County. And, similar to what we have at the, if you look at the Wickers Nature Preserve, McGuffey Preserve, what we have out on Western Reserve, the Collier Preserve, just named it for the Collier family. Anywhere, any part of the Mahoning County, you'll have an opportunity to test the waters in the Mill Creek Metro Park. So it's nice to be able to expand and be part of that. So I haven't heard the final details on what's going on there. We have a board meeting this evening, but it's going to be spectacular to be able to expand the footprint and offer more opportunity to the people of the Mahoning Valley.
One of the things we always like to talk to you about is the PGA season, and it's been an interesting year this year. There's been, some rivalry between some of the newer names in the golf course. I know what the challenge is coming up here closer to Thanksgiving with some new participants. It's been another exciting year on the tour.
It has. It's really been the passing of the torch. I mean, you look at what the U.S. was able to do and becoming victorious in the Ryder Cup. To be able to win on American soil is certainly paramount. But I think most importantly for American golf, being able to win events like that and being able to dominate with a very, very young team from a Ryder Cup standpoint, when you have that nucleus for probably the next 10 to 12, maybe 14 to 16 years, really bodes well for the golf in the United States. And I think, with Tiger, there's been some pictures of him popping through and Phil being able to win the PGA championship at 51 years of age. And if Tiger gets back and, gets his leg all healed up, we've seen some shots of him on the driving range. It's just going to be a major boom for the game of golf. And beyond that, the senior tour with Phil Mickelson, I think he's played in 4 events on the senior tour and won all 4. So it's really the passing of the torch. You'll see Tiger and Phil, really spend a lot of time being captains of President's Cups and Ryder Cup teams. And, to be part of the nucleus at this year's Ryder Cup with Captain Steve Stricker, really makes the game of golf in really good shape, especially when it comes to some of the younger players and the passing of that torch, getting them ready.
One of the big stories today was, the announcement that some bonuses and some purse totals are going to start increasing, and the biggest one is the Players' Championship going from $15 to a $20 million purse, according to some reports.
Yeah, historically, that Players' Championship is the strongest purse in professional golf, and no slouch. The last couple of years, obviously, when COVID came aboard in 2019, put a dampen into some events, being able to host events and not having any crowd at the gate. So it's nice to be able to see the PGA Tour and the game of golf bounce back. I know from our perspective, and I've said this to some folks around here, when Tiger Woods came aboard in 1997, 1998, he brought 3 million golfers with him. Post-COVID, with the COVID shutdown, they brought 6.8 million new golfers to the game of golf. So the golf right now is in great hands, and to be able to reinvest in some of the PGA Tour events, although they do play for a ton of money. But it's nice to see the purses expand, because that means the game of golf is growing. The popularity of the sport is right where we need it to be. And, getting folks and families and veterans and females and, every diverse background into the game is great for the game as a whole. So anytime that you can grow your fan base, you can grow your sport, it's mightily impressive. And the thing that impresses me is the play from last year that we've had an abundance of people, coming to the game of golf that either, stepped away and had a family and just really didn't get back into it, or new people coming to the game. To be able to see them come to the game last year and really transition for their second full year into the sport has been awesome from a PGA professional standpoint. To be able to grow the game, to grow your footprint, and to grow the pie in the Mahoning Valley has been spectacular, not only here at Mill Creek, but, talking with the area PGA professionals as well. They've showed the same amount of growth. So it's certainly exciting, and it's certainly exciting for all the programming that we have here. First year ever that we've sold out of every program that we had park-wide when it comes to recreation and golf activities, camps, clinics, and schools. So, we're certainly riding some very good momentum right now.
I saw a note that really just kind of shocked me about talking about the growth of the sport. Arnold Palmer made about $3 million in his entire career.
Yep.
The winner of this year's Players in March will win around $3 million for one tournament.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it? And, obviously Arnie's left us, but in his name and his business ventures, he's generating $80 million and it's not on the planet. So, the game of golf, because of him, in particular, is one of the reasons why it is where it's at. He brought television to the sport of golf, brought masses and brought common people to the game of golf, which is, it started out as an elite sport. Now it's for everybody. So I'm excited to see where the game's going with PGA Junior League, drive, chip, and putt, and tournaments, and activities for everybody across the spectrum. Like I said, golf is in a great spot right now.
I got to ask you, because we've known each other for a long time, you got to be pretty excited. Your alma mater is playing some pretty good high school football.
I'll tell you what, if they can hold on, I'm looking for Week 10 against South Range. I think that's going to be probably the game of the Mahoning Valley in the past probably 10 years. If both of those teams can come in 10-0, it's impressive to see what Cappy's been able to do. I've been at a couple games here and there, and he's impressive. He reminds me a lot of L.J. Scott, just a bigger-than-life player, and just seems to get the job done. And the numbers that he's putting up are outstanding. He's almost got 2,000 yards for the year. So, if they can stick with it and play some good defense, I expect them to make a nice run into the playoffs.
And, the shocking thing about it, you mentioned L.J. Scott. Officially, he's around, he's around 1,000 yards behind L.J.'s single-season rushing record that included several playoff games.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the sky's the limit with him. Obviously they probably want to keep him in a lot this week. And, if he plays well, he's going to have a shot at cracking 2,000 this week. And I think he can make some ground if he has a good game against South Range. And then if he can squeeze, 2, 3, 4 games out of it, I think he could challenge that number for sure.
Before we let you go, Brian, how can people get a hold of you to book around? The weather's supposed to be beautiful for the rest of the week.
Anytime you jump online, you can go to our website, millcreekmetroparks.org, or you can give us a call here at the golf shop, 330-740-7112. And if you're a veteran and want to take part in our PGA Help program, I've got a couple spots left for next Tuesday. Free instruction. We've got a little lunch. We've got some trolley rides for the family and some nice gifts provided by the Mahoning Valley Hospital Foundation. So we're happy to be one of two in the state of Ohio.
Brian, appreciate it as always. I'm sure we'll talk to you a few more times this year. Thanks for, as always, being part of everything we do here at Western Reserve Radio.
You got it. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate your support, and the facility has been a benefactor of all that you guys do there at Western Reserve Radio.
That's our friend Brian Tonar, Director of Golf at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Again, if you'd like to book a round of golf, head over to millcreekmetroparks.org. You can book a tee time right there on their website. Coming up, we will talk some high school football, let you know what games we're going to have here on Western Reserve Radio 1 and 2, and our broadcast partner with Sports Radio 1240. We might even tease a little bit, let you know where we could potentially be for a big Week 10 game that is coming up in the Valley. And again, big thank you to Brian Tonar, one of the sponsors here on Western Reserve Radio and on By All Means. We always enjoy talking to him about all the great events going on at the Metro Parks. We're going to take a time out. We'll dive into that high school football. Then coming up later on in the show, our friend Josh Friketic from the WKBN TV Sports Department will join us to talk even more high school football. That is all right here, By All Means, Western Reserve Radio.
Mill Creek Golf Course has been the Valley's leader for golfing fun since 1928. It features 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross and was voted a top 30 municipal facility by Golf Week in 2012. The Mill Creek Golf Shop is a certified Callaway Golf custom fitting center and it is stocked with your favorite golf apparel and accessories. Mill Creek Golf Course is now booking tee times for this year's golf season. Please call us at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Hi, it's Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Mill Creek Golf Course is the Valley's leader for golfing fun with a practice range, short game area, and hole 55 bar and grill all on site. Mill Creek Golf Course features a friendly PGA professional staff available for instruction, along with 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross. Don't forget family fun night golf on Fridays and Saturdays for just $25. For details and tee times, call 330-740-7112 or go online to millcreekmetroparks.org.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
I have the sound up, and I appreciate the guys that do the work now. But it is with great appreciation I see what the guys do, not only the announcers, but also the players. So we've had wonderful playoffs. I mean, single, double, triple overtime games. It's been fantastic.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com. Mill Creek Golf Course is the Valley's leader for golfing fun with a practice range, short game area, and hole 55 bar and grill all on site. Mill Creek Golf Course features a friendly PGA professional staff available for instruction, along with 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross. Don't forget family fun night golf on Fridays and Saturdays for just $25. For details and tee times, call 330-740-7112 or go online to millcreekmetroparks.org.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio on westernreserveradio.com.
Right back here, By All Means, Western Reserve Radio. Mark Means, Jim Craven back with me now. And look at the games coming up this weekend here on Western Reserve Radio. We've got Springfield and Jackson Milton. Western Reserve Radio 2, Sports Radio 1240. Is a game that my colleague, my broadcast partner, Tim Continenza, is fired up about because as a someone that grew up in the Boardman area, he knows, and we know all of what, no matter whether they're both 4-3 or they're both 7-0, we know when Boardman and Fitch get together in anything, it's always a big game, and we're looking forward to that one on Friday.
Yeah, and they're both ranked right now, so these are two playoff teams, especially with the expanded playoffs. So these are two local teams that we could see in Week 11.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we saw Boardman a couple weeks back when they played Warren Harding and just couldn't get the offense going in that game. And then, they've got a chance to be at home to take on an Austintown Fitch team, which is they've been up and down a little bit this year. And, they have the capabilities of putting up a lot of points because they are loaded offensively.
Yeah, Austintown, an interesting team. They've gotten some huge wins this year, and then I anticipated that they would be competitive, or Canfield would be competitive with them, but I never foresaw the end of that coming out the way that it did. So looking for consistency there, especially when you're getting this late into the season and you're looking for playoffs, you shouldn't really be having those hiccups, but, you don't know what injuries were there. You don't know, what players were in COVID protocol or whatever the situation might be.
And, these are big games the final 2 weeks for our area Division II teams because Fitch is 8th, Harding is 9th, Boardman is 12th. So still got a chance to be at home for that opening round.
Yeah, there's a lot to play for. And again, whether you like the playoff setup now or you don't, I mean, these are matchups, at least in that division, that could be really competitive, that could be interesting games, but I don't think that's going to be all the way down when you start looking in our area. But certainly, some old Steel Valley teams getting in there and kind of excited about that.
And the thing that's intriguing for those three schools I just mentioned, they're all going to match up. Fitch is going to play Boardman this week, and then they go to Harding next week. So really, all of these teams have their playoff destiny in their hands.
Yeah, and I'm sure the coaches are telling me, our playoffs start Friday. They don't start in 3 weeks. They start tonight. We have to win. We have to have certain things happen so that we can have these advantages, whether it be home field advantage or whatnot. So I'm sure that they're harping on that. Because, and especially if you're a boardman at 12, that could go either way.
Yeah, and it's one of those where, we talk about there's a lot of big games down the stretch. And then you turn towards, Springfield, who's moved to number 1 in their computer region, Division 6 Region 21, at 7-1. And you look at the next 2 games on paper at 2-5 Jackson Milton and 1-5 Sebring, games they will be heavily favored in. You wonder, how Coach Guerrero and Coach Brungard and that staff, you got to keep them focused and you got to keep them healthy, knowing you should go into those next 2 games, 1 at home and 1 on the road, that you should win.
And this is the challenge. This has been the challenge, at least for Springfield, for the last 3 years. They have blown through these regular seasons. They really haven't been challenged. Now this year in week 1, they played a South Range team that I think we all anticipate is going to make a deep run into the playoffs. Dan Yeagley has that team playing phenomenal. They got some talent there. So, and in week 1, they had some things that you looked at you thought were weaknesses. The slow starts, the questionable offensive line play. Well, those things that were their weaknesses in week 1 have now become their strengths. They're getting out the fast starts now. Some quarters it's been 28-0, 21-0. It was 6-0 last week. We thought, well, this is going to be a competitive game. Well, that wasn't going to be the situation. But this is tough for any coach. But with any successful program, you have to be able to keep them mentally focused because, again, Jackson Milton, I don't think is going to give them much of a challenge. And, Sebring, they'll have to make that trip out there.
And, you talk about, and we've been around it, both of us, the last 2 years with them making trips to the state championship. And the things that's exciting about it is, the one name that's consistent has been Bo Brungard, but his weapons that he utilizes have really changed around him since his sophomore year, and they just continue to plug players in and win.
Yeah, and there's guys like Shondell Gardner and Bob Gessler and I talk about him all the time. We saw him as a sophomore, and we saw with the capability he had as a sophomore. This year, you could see the improvement. He has no fear across the middle. He goes up for balls. He's fast. He had a punt return for a touchdown last week and a reception for a touchdown. But, you look at now, we see another player behind him named Dylan Shealy, who's a sophomore, who's now getting into that 4 wide receiver set. And he may become the next Shondell Gardner. And one of the advantages you have with a team like this is you're going to have blowouts in the first half. Your young players are getting varsity experience in the second half. Sometimes middle of the third, all the way to the end of the game. So the development part is there. And that makes it so efficient.
Okay, you and I have been working together too long because that's actually where I was going to go with my next question is it's one of those where, sure, you can develop, on the freshman team, you can develop on the JV team, but there's nothing like being out there getting varsity experience for, a quarter to sometimes 2 quarters because in a lot of those situations, you may be playing still against the other team's ones as they're trying to get some points on the board.
Yeah, and it's the speed of the game is different when you get to the varsity level. The pressure is different because now you have 2,000 people in the stands staring at you playing the game. So if you're cognizant of that can kind of skew you a little bit. But this has been the pattern for them, and every year we see in that third and fourth quarter that next up and coming skill player. Now, Bo Brungard, this is the end for him. He's going to go on. He's already committed to Youngstown State. And I'm sure everybody's excited about that. But, right now it's who's going to be the next guy to step up. And they have a young man who's about 6'3", 190 that's waiting in the wings for him.
I know you had a chance to see South Range way back in week 1, and you have not had a chance to see Hubbard play yet in person, but so many of us anticipating that being a 9-0 matchup in week 10. But, of course, Hubbard still has to get by Niles on Friday night. And I believe South Range plays either Lakeview or Jefferson, so that's a game they will be heavily favored in. That game will be played, at South Range in Week 10. And either one of those teams, even though they're in the, top 5, top 8 of each of those regions, they could really jump with a victory like that, especially South Range. If you're a Division 5 school and you beat a Division 3 school in Hubbard, there's a ton of points there.
Yeah, there's something to play for still. That's security getting into the playoffs. And, Brian Hoffman, Dan Yeagley, two of the best in the area to do it. I believe Coach Hoffman just became the winningest coach at Hubbard. So, and then, the people that he's following up to do that, it's absolutely impressive. So Week 10 is going to be a huge matchup. And if nothing else, if there were no playoffs in question or nothing to go with this, it would still be exciting just because of the talent. You got Dominguez, the running back for South Range, who has been outstanding. And then you got T.C. Caffey, the running back for Hubbard, who's just been putting up the Madden kind of numbers. So it could be this is going to be a big collision. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it is. South Range is on the road at Lakeview coming up on Friday before hosting Hubbard the following Friday to wrap up the regular season. And, I mean, you look right now for South Range, and they definitely have an opportunity. Lakeview may not get them a lot of points, but they would have an opportunity to maybe jump Kirtland to get that number 1 spot. Kirtland's only played 7 games. South Range has played 8. But right now the disparity is about 4 points between Kirtland and Canfield, because we know that league that Kirtland plays in is loaded.
Yeah, if you're good in that league, you're just good, period. There's no question. And, these two teams have met in the past. So, I know these young guys know in their mind, there's a distinct chance we're going to run into them again coming up this year. And Kirtland, just a perennial playoff team. But, it's so South Range has become that too. Every year we see them making it, deep into the playoffs.
And, another team in that region we have to talk about for a moment is, Joe Simon's Liberty Leopards. They're 5-3. They won 1 football game last year. They sit now in the 14th spot with 2 games to go. So he's really got them talking playoffs in his first year.
And there's some excitement about the program. I think he's getting some players to come in that maybe weren't there before, but he's proof that coaching makes a difference. Sometimes just the change of voice in that locker room makes a difference, and I think that's absolutely proof right there.
The problem for Coach Simon's Leopards is, and I don't know if you saw my reaction when I saw the schedule, is they finished the year with 2 games at home, which is always good. But they are against LeBray and Garrettsville Garfield.
Oh, yeah, LeBray, man. They have developed quite the receiving core out there.
I was shocked how big they beat Brookfield last week.
Yes, and I'd seen Brookfield in week 2. They're a physical team. I mean, pound for pound, they're going to fight with you. And so I was a little bit shocked to do that. And Garrettsville Garfield is just what a great addition to this area for that team. We got to see them in the playoffs a couple times. They're the real deal. That's a great program.
Yeah, that is an absolutely loaded region with a lot of really good teams. So again, it is Jackson, Milton, and Springfield on Western Reserve Radio 1, and it's Austintown, Fitch, and Boardman on Western Reserve Radio 2, and a Sports Radio 1240 to wrap up Week 9 already of the high school football season. Wow. It's the fastest 10 weeks of the year, and it flies by, but boy, it does.
Yeah, and it's a little odd this year. We started a week early, and then you go to a game last Friday. It's October, and it's 72 degrees at kickoff. I mean, and I'm not complaining, but make no mistake.
The weather's been great for the first 8 weeks.
So maybe they're onto something here. Maybe this is okay. I can deal with this.
We'll have to see. I know there's a pretty good chance of some rain for this Friday's game. As long as it's just rain and not that other word that makes us delay and, and only get half of a game in when we start our broadcasting career.
Yeah, when does that ever happen? What are the chances of that?
It happened about 6 years ago, if I do remember right, on a trip to Lisbon.
Speaking of things that go fast.
So that'll do it for this segment. We'll take a break. When we come back, our buddy Josh Verketic will join us. It's By All Means Sports Radio.
Mill Creek Golf Course is the Valley's leader for golfing fun with a practice range, short game area, and hole 55 bar and grill all on site. Mill Creek Golf Course features a friendly PGA professional staff available for instruction, along with 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross. Don't forget family fun night golf on Fridays and Saturdays for just $25. For details and tee times, call 330-740-7112 or go online to millcreekmetroparks.org.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
To the radio play-by-play voice and our buddy back from here at Youngstown, it is the voice Fitz. Everett Fitzhugh, my friend, how are you?
Man, it feels good to hear your voice again, Mark. Everything's going well, and definitely excited to be back on the airwaves briefly for here in Youngstown.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
Right back here, By All Means, Western Reserve Radio. Time to go back to the phones. Our friend Josh Fiketic from WKBN TV Sports Department is joining us. And Josh, can you believe it? We sit here on the precipice of Week 9 of the high school football season already.
It happens every year, and I know we say it all the time, and everyone talks about it. It's the fastest 10 weeks of the year, and it absolutely is. It never ceases to amaze me that it just goes by in a blink of an eye here.
What are your thoughts on just the way the Valley has played in this season through the first 8 weeks?
It's been a competitive 8 weeks, and there's been teams that I think that have done some surprising things. I think some teams that we expected to be where they're at, and probably some teams that we might have expected a little bit more of so far this year. I mean, we were actually just in the office a couple minutes ago talking about computer rankings and seeing where things are, and believe it or not, Ursuline lost this week and actually went up in the computer rankings or ahead of the team that they lost to this past week as well. So, I mean, this is going to be a really interesting couple last weeks, especially with 16 teams getting in, some teams really fighting, Struthers on the outside looking in, but, could bump up there a spot or two. It's going to be interesting to see what happens these last 2 weeks.
I've had a chance twice this year to see Hubbard TC Cathy play, and we're hoping we will against South Range in Week 10. And it's been a long time since somebody from the Valley might have been a potential candidate for Mr. Football, but the year he is having, that's a distinct possibility.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he has just been a man amongst boys, to be perfectly honest, so far this season. He's been fantastic. We talked to him before the year, and he was eyeing that school record, the L.J. Scott record, and you kind of sit there and think, and you're like, can he do that? And he pretty much right away said that, yeah, I can do that. And he's absolutely a candidate for it. In years past, we've had some guys real close, Bo Brungard and Lynn Bowes and guys like that. But, I mean, it's tough to argue what TC has been doing this year for Hubbard. I mean, it's definitely looking like if he has a big couple weeks here that he could be rewriting the record book there at that school.
He's about roughly 900 yards away from L.J. Scott's record with, you figure, 2 regular season games and the possibility of, who knows how many postseason games for Hubbard.
And with the games that he's been having, 200-plus rushing yard games, I mean, you'd say that if they get 4 games, and who knows what's going to happen with South Range because, the Raiders are a great team. They're undefeated so far this year. They're in control. They're state ranked number 2 in the AP poll. But Jefferson this just past week put up some points, and they did it on the ground and through the air. So that, to me, says that Hubbard should be able to do that same thing. So maybe in that type of game, you're looking at maybe a shootout, and he totes 200 on the ground. And if he does that against Niles, too, then you're talking he's only about 500 away from that. So if they get 4 or 5 games in, so 2 regular season, and if they make a little bit of a run in the playoffs, I think there's a very distinct possibility it could happen.
When you look at some of the other teams in the area, and I don't want to exclude anybody, but we don't have enough time to talk about everyone, who are some of the other teams you think might be able to make a deep postseason run?
I mean, I know I mentioned Ursuline a little bit before. I think that's a team that, again, just still sticks out. That Division 4 Region 13 is pretty loaded. I mean, West Branch, Ursuline, Villangela, St. Joe's, Salem, Beaver Locals won 6 straight. I mean, there's some really good teams in that Region 13. Up in Division 2, I mean, I don't think people should be sleeping on Fitch right now. At 4-3, they've dealt with the injury bug really, really bad the last several weeks. I think that's why you see some of those losses that kind of stood out, that 41-10 loss to Canfield. Canfield's very, very good, but I think Fitch makes that a much closer game if they're fully healthy. They were able to bounce back with Wadsworth. Obviously, Boardman this week in our game of the week. I mean, if they can get healthy at the right time, I think that's a team that you got to kind of keep an eye out for. Obviously, South Range in Division 5 that we've talked about. Looking at computer points, Springfield is still the top-ranked team in Region 21. They got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they seem to be picking things up there. I mean, again, how can you count a team that's been to a state championship game the last 2 years running right now and are still 7-1 and tops in Region 21?
I like that game of the week that you're having so much that I think I'll just make it our game of the week as well. So there's going to be a lot of coverage for that game.
Great minds think alike, Mark. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. I mean, that's an old Steel Valley Conference rivalry. Boardman is, again, playing better football right now. I think after, they had a little bit of a shutdown there last week with Ursuline, having that game canceled. We'll see how they can bounce back with that. But when those two teams meet, it's usually a pretty darn good game. So I think that one should be a good one on Friday.
And obviously, I don't know from your perspective, but you never know. We may see each other again in Week 10, maybe at South Range. Who knows?
I mean, I can't say anything officially, but you might. It's possible. We'll put it up there. It's possible. It might happen.
Yeah, especially if we've got 2 9-0 teams going into that matchup. And, it's interesting because you look at these regions and there's that team that you feel like other teams have to get past. Like, obviously, we know how good Kirtland is. South Range is in that region. I mean, you've got Hubbard and Canfield in the same region, Ursuline and West Branch. So, with the expanded playoffs, we could have a lot of local matchups the first couple of weeks.
For sure. And you know what, Mark? It might come down to somebody who slips up. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think we're going to see – I don't want to put any guarantees out here, but I don't think we're going to see any 1 over or any 16 over 1s or anything like that. But as the year goes on, I mean, there are teams that slip up in certain areas there. Maybe a 12 knocks off, a 6 or a 7 or even, something better than that down the line if they end up going and reaching a Chardonnay who's ranked 2 right now in that Region 9 that you got me looking at right now. I mean, that's a loaded region up top for Hubbard and Canfield and teams like that to get through. I mean, Dover, Chardon, Kenston. I mean, those are powerhouse teams that we've also seen in parts of this year. You know, Ursuline's played Chardon this year in a D4 team, and they fell 36-27. So, you know, that is a tough region to get through as well.
You know, another team that I think is playing great football right now is in Division II, and it's Warren Harding. You know, Coach Arnold's Raiders started off 1-4, and after a broadcast, I said that might be the best 1-4 football team in Ohio. And since then, they beat St. V's, they beat Boardman, they beat Mooney, and they finished with Cheney and Fitch down the stretch, and they're fighting for a home game in the first round.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think it might have been that same week. I think I said the same thing to Coach Arnold myself. I mean, you by far the best 1-4 team in the state by all means. And you know what? Now they're starting to figure it out. I think early on in the year it was going to be interesting because Don Foster was playing quarterback, and they made the move to put Dallas Jett there and have Foster play on the outside and kind of do something that I think that he's not only just more comfortable with, but what he's going to be doing in his future as well. You know, that offense is scary. I mean, they are a darn good team. I remember being at that Ursuline game that Friday night. I mean, all intents and purposes, probably should have won that one too. I mean, that was an absolute shootout, probably one of the games of the year too. We're within 3 points from Massillon. We're within 7 points of Hudson. I mean, Harding has been there. We talk about teams that have had maybe like the best strength of schedule in the area. I think it's Ursuline, but on Harding, on paper too, that's a darn good schedule too. Medina, Hudson, Massillon, Ursuline, St. V's. I mean, they are going to be playoff ready here in Week 11.
Josh Turketic's with us for a couple more minutes from the WKBN TV Sports Department. And you mentioned when Coach Arnold made that move to put Dallas Jett in at quarterback. You know, he may not be the biggest player on the field, 5'10", 5'11", probably, but when you find out the arm that young man has as a junior, it feels like the entire field is in play for the Raiders, especially with the receivers that he has to throw to.
And he's so shifty, too, which makes it so tough. I me's it's not like it was when Lynn was there, but I mean, with Jett, I mean, he lives up to that namesake. He is a Jet. I mean, it's tough to stop him because you don't really know. He gets those hips and shoulders moving one way and then just plants the foot and moves it the other way, and you're left in a cloud of dust there. And the kid's got a absolute cannon. And again, like you said, Mark, when you got guys like Don Foster out there on the end, just heave it up there as far as you can and just let that kid go make a play.
And we can't forget to talk about the other undefeated teams in the area with Garrettsville, Garfield, and West Branch really playing good football.
Absolutely. I was able to see West Branch a couple times so far this year. And, you thought, how are they going to be able to overcome what they lost last year? And, I mean, my goodness, Truda Shields is playing some good football all around. I mean, they got that offense pumping. The one problem is are they going to be able to stop some teams? I was at that Howland game where they let up 34 to Howland, and I was like, man, was the defense going to let them down in some certain spots? But in that same token, they've scored 60 twice this year and 40 a bunch of times. So I don't know if it's really going to matter if they can stop anybody. It's going to be, can anybody stop that offense? They've been going and just ticking. And Garfield's been outstanding, too. I haven't been able to see them in person, but I know they were in our game of the week earlier this year when they went up against Warren JFK. And they have also just been scoring at an alarming rate. They got a great running back there. And they have not been letting up many points per game this year. I think they've held teams to single digits almost a half dozen times so far this year.
No, I wonder, you probably speak to coaches more often than I do. In the preseason, we found out the playoffs were going to double to 16 teams. There wasn't one coach that I talked to that was really in favor of it or really liked the expanded playoffs. But I wonder if some coaches have changed their opinion now knowing that they've got a chance to take their team to the playoffs.
We haven't discussed it much since the prior part of the season, but I'm going to guess with 2 weeks left, and if you're on the cusp, I think you're liking the expanded playoffs just a little bit here at this point. I again, like you said, I didn't talk to one coach that really enjoyed it. I think the number's a little bit too high. Personally, myself, I like 12. I think that's a good number, but that's a separate topic for another conversation there. But I mean, if you're sitting somewhere between 14 to 18 right now, I think that you're liking that you're getting 16 in, and then you can play some meaningful football there in Week 11.
Finally, over the weekend, history in the Valley with Bill Bourne getting that win for Matthews against Ashtabula St. John for 300 wins.
Yeah, I was able to catch up with Coach at Booster Field after they got back down from Spire in that game against St. John. And I mean, my goodness, he's a great human being, a great man, a great leader, a fantastic run that he's been able to go on. And it's so cool. You know, I got to ask him, and when you dive into his career and you see that he's been, you know, everywhere from Ottawa Glendorf to Boardman to Butler, PA to Steubenville, just like kind of, you know, all across the state, and just to know how many people's lives that he's touched and changed. I think that's the best thing for him that he gets out of it is being able to be that guy that people lean on and try and teach these young kids to be young men and make that next step in their life. So really happy for Coach Bourne, and he's still going at this age and at that age. And I hope that when I get that old that I can still be kicking like that too, because it is rather impressive.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. Appreciate it as always. We'll have to talk as we dive into the playoffs with, I'm sure, a record number of local schools, and trying to avoid the raindrops as you're out covering all those games this weekend.
We were getting too lucky, Mark. We were getting too lucky all season without rain. I got soaked all weekend long. So hopefully the rain gods are with us this week.
It's our friend Josh Verketic from the WKBN TV Sports Department as he joins us to preview and review the high school football season here in the Valley. We will give you our games one more time coming up after we take our final break. There is a chance both Friday and Saturday for some rain this weekend as we may be potentially heading back towards those fall temperatures that we are used to, but we'll put a wraps on episode 33, let you know where we're going to be this weekend, and we'll have all of that for you coming up right after this.
Mill Creek Golf Course has been the Valley's leader for golfing fun since 1928. It features 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross and was voted a top 30 municipal facility by Golf Week in 2012. The Mill Creek Golf Shop is a certified Callaway Golf custom fitting center and it is stocked with your favorite golf apparel and accessories. Mill Creek Golf Course is now booking tee times for this year's golf season. Please call us at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
So, are you enjoying our station? Well, now you can take us along on your mobile device wherever you go.
Wow!
The free Live 365 app is available for both Apple and Android devices.
That sounds like fun. I'll give it a try.
Just go to the Apple app or Google Play Store and download it today.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
I have the sound up, and I appreciate the guys that do the work now. But it is with great appreciation I see what the guys do, not only the announcers, but also the players. So we've had wonderful playoffs. I mean, single, double, triple overtime games. It's been fantastic.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
So why do teenagers play high school sports?
My reason why is a sense of purpose.
My reason why is to inspire others.
One reason student athletes seldom mention is to get an athletic scholarship. They know that only 2% of all high school athletes are awarded a sports scholarship. So why do they play?
My reason why is friendship.
Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
Time to wrap up another edition of By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio, episode 34 of season number 2. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, download the Live 365 app or TuneIn, or just check out our website. You should check it out anyway. That's westernreserveradio.com. Don't forget, big thank you to our guest today, Josh Verketic from the WKBN TV Sports Department, and Brian Toner, Director of Golf and Recreation at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Our high school football games this weekend here on Western Reserve Radio. Jackson Milton at Springfield, so that will be a 6:35 pregame, or 6:45 pregame. I was a little early for that one. And then Tim Continenza and I will be at Boardman for Fitch and Boardman, a pair of 4 and 3 teams battling for the playoffs. Tim and I will join you at 6:40 for the pregame here on Western Reserve Radio 2 and on Sports Radio 1240 for that one, as we are looking forward to heading towards the last couple weeks of the high school football season, because you know that means the big games are upon us for conference championships and playoff seeding and Valley bragging rights, which are also still very, very important. As we wrap things up, as always, I want to remind you this show is available in podcast form. Just search for By All Means on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and many of your favorite places to listen to the podcast, or follow me on Twitter, and we'll have the show up for you later on tonight. Just go to @Mark_Means. That's MARCMEANS. That's going to do it for this week's edition of By All Means, brought to you by Mill Creek Golf Course. For executive producer Jim Craven, my name is Mark Means, and you've been listening to By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio.